daughters and all of his household and all of his livestock and all of his cattle and all of his goods and all that he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and he went to another land away from Jacob. Oh, to be like Esau. You know, the one that God hates. One day I want to grow up and be like Esau. Because it may seem insignificant. Because it says that the reason he moved, for their property become too great for them to live together, and the land where they sojourned could not sustain them because of their lifestyle. So he had all these animals, and so Esau lived in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. I want to grow up someday and be like Esau. Because the last time I remember, Esau's stuff was getting stolen, right? His birthright was getting stolen. His inheritance was getting stolen. And he makes a decision that I want to kill my brother because I'm so angry that he's taken all my stuff. See, Esau was angry when he had nothing. And now Esau has everything he wants. All his heart's desire. He has so much livestock. He has so many animals and so much stuff going on that he doesn't need it anymore. Why would I be angry at my brother Jacob for stealing if I've got more that I can use for myself? Right? So you think he's off the hook. Well, here's the point of it all. He packed up and moved when his snot-nosed kid brother came back. His kid brother's been out living at Laban's house for 20 years, which is 500 miles away. He comes trolling back in. He's got daddy's money. He took daddy's inheritance when he left, right? He's got the birthright. He gets all the privilege of being the eldest son, right? And he shows up, and you would think that he says, well, I just returned from Laban's land, and I've got all this stuff, and look, there's not enough land. And you would think Esau would say something like, keep moving. Beat it. You know, every time you come around here, you screw things up. You would think, I am so sick of you, dude. I forgave you once, and here you are again. Everything's perfectly fine. I have everything that I need out here. All my animals are well fed. Now you come over here, and they're all grazing on our land. And you just know that it's going to end up on the A&E. You know it's going to be Hatfields and McCoys all over again, right? You return on the TV, and there's going to be Esau Jacob. But what does Jacob say? That's yours. Don't you think he should be mad? Would you be mad if you had a farm and your brother brought a bunch of cows over and said, I'm going to let them loose on your land? What would you do? Right? I mean, seriously, what would you do? I'd call the cops. I would. I'd go, hey, I don't know, my retarded brother just brought all of his cows over here and put them in my pasture. And the cops would come over and they'd take the cows. And my brother and I would get in a fight, and he'd say, why'd you do that? Just like the guy who parked his boat trailer out here. I'm going to call the cops on him this afternoon. It's been 4 weeks. And he's going to come over. I don't know who the guy is. I've asked around the neighborhood. He's going to say, why'd you give her my boat trailer? Because it's my parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. And he's going to think I did him wrong. Just like Jacob or Esau ought to think he did me wrong. But Esau doesn't think he did me wrong. You see, here's the difference between Jacob and Esau. Is Esau, even though he didn't have daddy's money, he had God's blessing. And the one thing that you know when you have God's blessing is it doesn't matter if you got daddy's money. You're going to be okay. It doesn't matter where God calls you. You're going to be fine. It doesn't matter where your ministry might lead you. It's going to turn out all right. It doesn't matter if you walk away from a $250,000 a year job because you know that your dad's the one taking care of the bills. Does that make sense? It's hard for me to relate to people who don't have my own experiences. But I look at this story and I think to myself, I want to be like Esau. I want to know that my brother, who has been stabbing me in the back for 20-something years, our whole lives, my brother keeps screwing me over every chance he gets, and now he shows up and says, I've taken your pastures. What a man to to be like Esau and say, it's okay, you can have it, I'll leave. It's yours. You see, that's the kind of people we ought to be. Because this is what the Bible's all about. Loving your neighbor. Love God and love your neighbor. But you can't surrender what you have until you've gone through last week's chapter. So you still got to forgive them. And that's where we're stuck. We get stuck because we can't forgive. You know, it would be very easy now if you understood what Esau understood, that none of the blessings that your brother has taken from you have depleted you in any way, because God has provided everything you've ever needed. Just like when the prodigal son came home. Prodigal son came home and the father says, kill the fatted calf. And the older brother says, why would you do that? It's not fair. And his dad says, I'd have given it to you if you asked. All you have to do is ask. Why are you holding a grudge? But see, we can't surrender ourselves to be used for God's purpose. We can't truly love somebody unless we forgive them. And that is the one thing that I have found in my experience that stands above everything else. That the people that I know that have the toughest time in life are those who can't forgive. The Bible demands it. Even when you say the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses, in the exact same depth and breadth and intention as we forgive those who sin against us. So when you pray the Lord's Prayer, what you're saying to the Lord is, Lord, I pray that you would forgive me the same way I forgive people who hurt me. And the Lord says, you got it. Now what do you do with it? Because if the Lord steps in the room and he says, well, on your final day, your judgment, the Lord says, you didn't make it. You're going to say, why not? He says, because I forgave you the exact same way you forgave those who sinned against you. You're still holding a grudge. You asked me to do exactly what you're doing, so I'm holding a grudge against you. Depart. I don't know you. Forgiveness is the most important thing in your relationship with God. It is the most important thing. There is nothing that you can put on the same plane with that, because it's your word out of your mouth that says to your Father who decides your eternity, I give you permission to forgive me exactly the way I forgive others. Be careful what you pray. Esau can say, forgive me the way I've forgiven my brother, and God would say, okay. And Esau's going to be fine. The question I got for you is, if God said, yeah, I'll forgive you the same way you forgive others, how's things going to turn out for you? I'll leave you with that. Please rise. Sister Jean, would you close us in prayer?